Hello, Sagittarius. We are here to do your August read. Now, this is a very unique read because I cover the aspects of the astrology and try and place it in common English, as well as I link into your chakra systems and anything energetically that can come up. And I also will be using my psychic gifts to really hone in on, how this can be potentially playing out for you. Now, this is a very energetic month. Last month, towards the last 2 weeks, you guys would have been experiencing some aspects of what's coming up this month. And the reason I say that is due to my clientele and the Taurus placement that's coming up in your chart, which does happen to be hitting your 6th house. So it will be in retrograde, that one location. Now, Taurus it's very Venus orientated. It's the luxuries in life. It's things to the degree that we are directly connected to and the things we want to move towards. Now, in alignment, when we say alignment, if we've been learning lessons and moving through it, which all of us do energetically, it's just how long it takes. We're in alignment and we can get the blessings from universe. There's also, if suddenly you were guided to do something in an aspect of utilizing your finances in a particular area, it can be placed in particular areas. So the first week is pretty full of conflict and adversity. It doesn't mean to say that there's not going to be benefits in it, but I will really work through each day in the first week and connect in the astrology during the month as to what can be coming up for you guys. Now, on the first day of the month, you do have major aspects being made to your shared resources and your connection. So if you currently are either working or in a relationship or your social environment, really what the money is in the give and take equations in those situations are going to come up. When we say out of 10, what can be? From a lesson point of view in adversity, it's extreme. So it's at the extreme level. It can be deeply frustrating, especially because we have Aries and Chiron retrograde. We really need to be very cautious between now and the end of the year as to how we communicate. Now, the further into the year we get, we will become more tired, not because it's ending the year, but because we are having Mars go retrograde. So we have a yin and yang in our energy, which is our emotions and our physical body. So currently the emotional sense of things is coming from Chiron, which is an aspect of Mars, and my throat chakra is gone, so pay attention to that. Not for me, for you, because when I channel, things come through. With it going retrograde, you're reflecting upon these areas. For you, this hits your 5th house of luck, children, and romance. So wounds and things to that degree are self-fulfilling prophecies, feeling a little bit triggered in those areas. It can also be subject matters connected to your childhood and direct children if you have children. Also, if you've really moved through adversity and you've been trying to correct things and you've found you haven't had much luck, it can be there so that it can activate that wound to remind you of that and make peace with it to proceed forward. Many times energetically, when we hold a belief system, it's almost like I'm going to stub my toe, bang, you hit your toe. So it continues to come through in that way. Now, with this report, what I am going to be covering is the general, which I'll finalise in a minute. Then I'll get into your romance section for those of you coupled and singles and those of you on the fence. I'll also cover your career, your finances, and as I mentioned, unemployment, people who are looking for work or running a business. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first day of the month, yes, there can be conflict. Now, when it comes down to shared resources, having to have that come to a head and to look at your connections and really, when it comes to your contracts, I do feel many of you have your contracts under assessment, and it will be for 2.5 years. So what I found with that axis point between the 1st and the 7th, having that transit, which is very deeply ingrained in your astrology for the next 2.5 years, it's really transformative. I will say that. Going through it can be very testing. You will learn that your initial innate belief of what people's expectations were, some of it, yes, is relevant, but some of it is ingrained inside yourself. And it's actually quite painful to come to terms with such. For me, when I went through that transit Initially, yes, to some degree, it was connected to other people in my circle. But again, what we believe, we co-create and we attract to ourselves. So once we make peace with that, uniquely, everything kind of calms down. So with the healthy boundaries, your connections, your pastimes, it's like you're going through a rebirth. So it can feel super awkward moving through this energy where people potentially may be projecting towards you. You also at times accidentally, so through this transit over the next 2.5 years, may potentially, due to past energies, project at others or try and really create a very sharp, healthy boundary. These themes can be coming up at the beginning of the month, and I'm seeing money and luck and almost wanting to move but feeling very suppressed coming up as a subject matter. Towards the 4th, shared assets, be it in your career sector, where you're putting your money towards, what you're putting your money into. Are you actually getting something out of it, or does it feel like it's sifting through your hands? These themes can come up, and even the psychology surrounding the energy of what you're putting your money into. Sometimes we can tap into pacifier energy, and it's sort of like a term I've created, but it's more the frequency in which we use caffeine, food, things that with the Taurus energy make us feel better to cope with the vibration. It can even be a hobby and a pastime that we've just been doing it for a long time. It becomes a bit of a habit and we think, hey, does it resonate with us, or is it actually causing conflict? I do feel for many of you this can be a subject matter that you're looking at, but also going over your documentation and looking at where you are in the matrix of your connections. I'm also feeling many of you are going to be looking at your direct emotions, and you do have to be very careful, surrounding the energy of creating new goals, not going into self-sabotage mode, looking at what needs to change. If you do have children, is there something coming up with that you do need to look at and put energy into? And is it reminding you of your inner child and your childhood? Some of you may feel that you're not having enough time for yourself, and there's this identity energy coming through where you're needing to tap into that and say, hey, yes, I will adhere to X, Y, and Z, but yes, I do need that element of my own frequency, especially since we did have, which we do, we've got Venus and Gemini at the moment. It is very social, so a lot of us are almost like we're fighting for our right to party. But it's not so much in a sense we want to go clubbing or anything to that degree. It's more from a social level, having that innate individuality without feeling totally segregated, and then wanting to integrate it. So there's push-pull energy going on, which can be a little bit conflicting. By the time we do reach the 7th, we do have Venus moving into Cancer. For you, that falls in your 8th house of shared resources. So again, it's like who you're directly linking in with, where you're putting your money. Is the give and take there? You will tap more into wanting to be around individuals that are there. However, if you have been having like energetic problems for a while and it's been emotional, tumultuous, what you may find is due to that placement, you may tap into things that actually pacify situations. So, not emptying that cup completely, putting it towards good use. Really good time to actually get into exercise to actually help balance that energy. So if you find you've been doing things more from a symptomatic point of view, it could be a really healthy time to get into boxing, exercising, walking, to place that energy of fear and aggression into something so that you can transmute it. Writing can be very helpful. Although we're going to have a lot more energy with the Leo frequency coming through, you might want to be more out and about. So you may be looking at homes and locations, or even just getting in the car and going. And that can be due to the fact that you have all this energy all of a sudden. Some of you with this placement also with the 9th house, it can be with the axis of Taurus and Leo, where some of you are actually upgrading certain aspects. And it can be because Mercury is going direct. It is Gemini energy. Where it was, Mercury and Venus, sorry. Yeah, so assets, technology, vehicles. A lot of people may be transferring, transforming, cleaning up, repairing those things. It can also be, by the time we do have Venus moving into Cancer, the energy of repairing things at home and fixing things at home. Although many of you, I do feel it's more towards vehicles and even for work-related dynamics, getting prepared for that if you are working. Now, let's look at anything else I need to remind you of. Okay, so on the 3rd of August, we're having a full moon in Aquarius at 11 degrees. Some of those themes would have been playing out when Saturn was in Aquarius in retrograde. It transited back into retrograde in Capricorn, so it is becoming heavier. It's very accountable, you know, the grind and pump, trying to get things done. With it moving into Aquarius, it does link into your communication house. Now, I would say, if you're remembering back to a frequency and you're being reflective and you're thinking of the simpler times in life, of when life was social, when you found you were part of a tribe, because you have Gemini in your 7th house, which is relationships and connections, you may find you're really missing people from the past. You're missing that innate energy of who you used to be. And it's almost like inside yourself, you will find at the beginning of that transit, which did start occurring in May, which I can relate because I've been through this myself, through that transit. So I've had 2.5 years of that, so I'm speaking from experience. You tend to find you've lost yourself. But it's not that you've lost yourself. It's that you're finding yourself again because you're going through a rebirth. So it can feel very upsetting, very distorted, very much, you know, who am I? Do I resonate with what I'm doing? There can even be this underlying anger linking in with work. You know, wanting to achieve these great dreams, wanting to have these beautiful things, pouring energy into it, and then adversity and things coming at left field. There are brighter horizons, but the thing is, with all your connections at the moment, you may not resonate initially due to the fact that you're going through a transformation. It can re-steer the course where it's not necessary that the people in your life are incorrect. It's that you're transforming. So you might feel all sorts of ways. You may have your good moments, your bad moments, and not really be able to articulate it 100%. It is temporary. It is beneficial in a sense that you will become a very different vibrational being where you won't be as fixated on looking outside of self. And I do feel at the moment you guys are really looking inside. If you are triggered, you can become actually quite verbal this month, especially moving into the energy of Mars retrograde. If you are also having conflicts with connections, and wanting to transform those things, and you're finding it is very heavy energy, it is due to that aspect there. So themes to do with where you want to be by the end of the year. If you're with the right tribe, what would need to happen with that tribe mentality, be it career, be it love, you know, your family, the people you socialize with, what those hopes and dreams and endeavors are, they're really going to come up quite heavily. You may be mourning the past, but trust the process that this is going to be so much better. Many of us don't look at it this way. But, you know, if we can go back and look at our elders and see what they've endured and see how they have become as human beings, you know, we can rest assured that things do move forward, providing we have that culture where we look at things from a holistic, you know, an observer's point of view of the bigger picture, not necessarily where we're posted on the planet at this point in life. Now, let's get into the rest of it. Couples, again, real large themes coming up to do with your relationship this month. It is going to ease off, and if it has been tense of late, it should start easing up. However, because we do have the nodes in your Venus house, it can cause challenges. So the key to it is knowing when those trigger points are. The first few days of the month are pretty trigger heavy. You may, for those of you that are in a relationship, it can be a lot of conversations about children if you got children, where you're going if you're having kids, where your creativity is going, what's happening with work, and the bigger picture of finances, like who's giving and who's taking, what's there for us to actually deal with. Your self-esteem is being built by this, and if you can actually go to your reservoir and look at what you've achieved in the past and apply it to this direct situation, it will benefit you. It is going to transform your self-esteem. It's also the networking that's crucial. You know, remember back to people that have been there for you and actually hone in on those energies. and keep correct with those vibrations. Some of you, when you are going through an awakening process, which you can really deem that placement as an awakening, it does feel like nobody's there. It isn't necessarily that is such, but when you're spiritually going through it, can really, really feel like nobody's there. But rest assured, how you grow, you will transform the people around you, and those people will come back and resonate with you at a larger degree. It's because your soul is transforming through this process. Now, like I said, big issues connecting to children. If you guys have children, if you're not having children, that subject matter can come up. And if you are not wanting any, be careful, because we do have that in the energy at the moment for your health. So some of you may be quite fertile at the moment. You do need to be mindful of that. Now, that might have already been too late, because usually you'll find a month before that energy is in resonance, and it can come through in a frequency sense. So if you aren't wanting to do anything to that degree, caution with that. But I do feel it might be a surprise, because it is in Taurus. So there can be brand new endeavors or just shocks to the system. And this is where the 8th house placement is coming in of, okay, if this has occurred, what do we do from here? And some of you may even be having different views as to what you do want to do. And this has been a large theme coming through this month. When we're looking at our own holistic approach to how the energy is resonating with us, it's also very different when we look at the tribes and the links around us as to how they directly implicate and affect that. So I am seeing differing energies in a belief system at the beginning of the month and adversity. But by communicating and keeping that channel open, I do feel by the end of the month, we can reach a middle ground. So trying to really understand the bigger picture goal and not tapping out and feeling that it can't be solved, but really needing to look at that. Now, as for your health, stress levels within situations of you suppressing things, and I'm really feeling throat chakra. Where's your throat chakra at? Yeah, communication in relation to, where you've been, what's happened. You're talking in future tense, which is logical because you're very, very Saturn energy. You're very, we need Jupiter energy. Sorry, we need to go and do X, Y, and Z. All the ways in which you were doing things before, you may find just spiritually change. You also may find, because of the nodes being in your first house placement, due to that fact and your connection, you're needing to move towards connections to trigger something innately inside you, and it naturally is going to happen. And whatever is changing inside you is going to be for the better, but initially it might not feel so great. So value systems, it does link in with marriage. It can relate in with siblings. You've got a lot going on there in your first house. When Jupiter does go direct, it is your natal energy. Let me check when that happens. Bear with me. I've got my charts everywhere. Okay, September. Most of this month it'll be doing such. But I do feel, even though it's in Capricorn, both your self-esteem and the energy of your first house placement is going to be activated. But I really feel most of this month is preparing you for that and preparing the external of people around you for such. So if your partner is feeling quite shocked by some of your behavior and there's this push-pull, and it may even be that you just got, I'm not really feeling super quiet, disconnected, maybe up and down energy, I can feel such, because we have Jupiter retrograde, we have Chiron and Aries retrograde, which is your health house. So are you speaking from your wounds, especially with your workplace, is it in alignment with who you are, and have you been putting a lot in and not getting enough out, or vice versa? Now, singles, again, caution, if you aren't wanting to conceive, be careful. I'm also seeing stress levels relating to memories, energy, hopes and dreams, really hitting that frequency, and career-related dynamics as to what you want to achieve. Now, some of you have been pouring your energy into that and really going to get benefits. Others of you, you're really wanting to have those deeper connections, have solid connections, and technology, local related dynamics, meeting people in local domains, and also communication through social media really bodes quite large for both couples and singles. Those of you that are single, I do feel, again, at the beginning of the month, it can be quite adverse, but towards the end of the month, it is going to give benefits for us to actually heal through certain dynamics and reach understanding points. What else am I seeing? Now, as to shared resources, you know, I sort of have this inkling, if anything, a lot of this by the 7th, if you've been waiting on hearing from somebody, contact can come in by the beginning of the month to about the 15th. Especially as to surprises, again, anywhere from 2 weeks ago, moving through past the 15th. But the heaviest energy is at the 15th. But I have noticed with my clientele that a lot of changes in the house of Taurus, which yours is your 6th house, which is work and your health domain. What you'll find is some of those things have been playing out already, and definitely in the first week you can find some adverse scenarios. Now, mid-month, there's some really beautiful aspects that you can actually move through these adversities, get things done, be very operational, but it's going to be supercharged and super busy. But again, I'm really feeling this blockage coming through with your throat chakra, which is Mercury orientated. Let me look, which currently, it's funny, it actually is in your contracts and partnerships section. So feeling like you can't articulate how you feel for higher or lower reasons. You know, when I say that higher or lower frequency, it might be for good reasons or bad. You're just stumbling to find your words, or maybe talking from a pain body experience due to stress and anxiety. Again, I'm seeing your foundation wanting to have the best of everything, but not from a greedy point of view, from a very, this means this, which for some, money can mean protection. For others, it can be strength and power. And that egoic purge that we're physically going through, it's what's necessary. You know, how much work do we do versus how much don't we? Is life in balance? Do we have our relationships and our career sector in balance? And what can we do to bring that into an equilibrium? I really feel for those of you that are single, you're really assessing that. And it can also be communication coming in, as I mentioned. I'm also seeing you may actually meet somebody very local. And again, you might find that you're getting inboxes on Facebook. You might get likes on comments. People may be looking at your physical profile at the moment. But I also feel, I don't know why I'm feeling window shopping. Window shopping energy. And meeting somebody. Now, for communication, I would suggest to be quite cautious because of Aries and Chiron, and it is hitting your health house. Some of you are wanting to get in shape. Some of you are a bit funny about like health, okay? So it does feel very innately your energy in a sense of horoscope, wanting to, you know, get to where you need to be. And I do feel August to be a turning point for many people where we're actually looking at our health sector and going, oh, hang on a minute, you know, have we actually got a bit lax on that? You know, lockdown energy, stay at home, etc. Is there anything we can do to regenerate that? I'm actually seeing, I don't know why I'm saying boxing, but many of you might need to actually transmute that frequency into something that can be physical exercise or creativity. You know, if you're not wanting to have children as well, 5th house placement, pour that energy into something that you're wanting to create. And I do feel it will be in the one step in that right direction. Now, as for your health, as I mentioned, exercise, lower back energy, base chakra. And again, the axis of your fears to do with things and aggression, very much solar plexus and sacral chakra. Career and money. Now, I do feel many of you will get the yin and yang of this. By about the 20th through to the 30th, I do feel it's really beneficial. Mid-month is also doing such. If you are currently working, there is going to be, again, the caution to overworking. Some of you, this can go the polar opposite, where it's been more at home than one side. And I do see the polarities of both. With September, I do feel it can be quite karmic if you haven't been in alignment. So if you need to tie up paperwork, if you need to touch base with people, it's really keeping those energies in the loop. It's reading over your paperwork. You're going to need to dot the P's and Q's. to keep that at a very balanced level. I'm also seeing for success to be some of what you're directly doing in your upskilling is really going to benefit you. Even if you currently are working, keeping in the loop as to what's current. You know, we won't be able to stay the same at the moment, especially with that placement. It's almost transforming that energy, keeping up to date. If you're marketing and advertising, really looking at that and staying up to date with it and looking at the long-term spectrum. And I'm almost seeing auditing and looking at global companies, especially for those of you that are unemployed. I'm seeing the aspect of Aquarius in the 3rd house to be very essential, linking in with your career sector, because it's communication house. So with that, what I am suggesting is looking at the larger companies. Now, we did say with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction at the beginning of the year, sort of what happens with that conjunction point is larger energies of companies that were there for a long time can crumble. Other ones will rise. Other ones will stay. Now, by this point in the energy of the year, what is remaining and what are the higher frequency of the jobs will be the main bodies of work that will be there still. So industries linking in with, let me see, for you anyway, upskilling, travel, also education, you actually training individuals, you having more updated training. I'm also seeing technology, local industry, local marketing. I don't know why I'm saying this. This could even be transport work, taxi, Uber, social media, marketing. Whatever it is, it will link very local, but going for the actual larger groups of energy. And this will resonate for 2.5 years, that department, that frequency coming through for you, because it is Gemini. So when it does come to your contracts, actually making sure you keep the communication open is really going to benefit you. Now, a lot of what you're wanting to let go of can be coming up at a psychological level. Your hunches are going to be super important, that you actually trust them, but keeping your frequency correct and not moving towards the pacifier energy, because I'm really feeling something is directly affecting the throat chakra due to you feeling you can't speak your truth. So it's going to be really important that you do, because it can actually cause ailments, you know, moving further into the year. Now, what else am I seeing? I'm also seeing your health to be deeply important. You know, that's where it was coming up. With your health, if you have been doing things where you're having to have blood works to receive jobs, getting paperwork in order, you really need to be getting on that now. Because as the movement of energy goes forward, if there's medicals and things to that degree that your current or new employer requires, you need to be in alignment and fit for that frequency. I'm also seeing diet, like too much of a good thing for something. This can be, you know, health food and having to have a bit of a balance back here and, you know, maybe ease off. But some of you, it has been very Jupiter energy, pacifiers, food, etc., smoking, things that really are a little bit out of balance and trying to get them down. But it's whatever this energy is, I'm really being shown that if you needed medicals or things to that degree, it's essential to get whatever that is under control so that that can actually balance out and move forward. Some of you are concerned. I do have an energy of other energies that just feel where they are, and I think they're the ones that are on the fence. So I just don't resonate with where I am. That's what I'm hearing. It's nonchalant energy, though. It does feel almost like it has been a long time coming. But you haven't decided to do such yet, but it's almost like a drop of a straw, and I do feel that energy will move. Now, I'll pull a ruin for you, and I will be back during the month to give you an update. I'm trying to stick to that. I can tell that this month's going to be pretty energetic. Now, most of the things and the targets that we're wanting to achieve, under offer, over deliver. That's the term I'm hearing, and I do feel it is due to Chiron and Aries retrograde and the squaring aspects. Now, this is linking to fire. I'm telling you, Aries and Chiron. And the energy we're putting in. So this is a 12-month cycle. Now, uniquely enough, we did have an eclipse in your first house last month. Let me make sure I'm correct. No, it was the month before. So a 6 to 12 month cycle. So at the moment, you do have around that energy, and that would have resonated with the new moon in Aquarius. I'm trying to get the download. Bear with me. Whatever this is coming up, I'm really feeling like you have this innate knowing. It's been a long time coming. Now, the nodes being in Sagittarius, it's to do with sun. This is a 12-month cycle from the Lionsgate portal moving through, because this is the element of Leo and sun. It relates to Apple. It signifies the solar cycle of 12 months. I'm telling you, some of you are actually having a child. Anywho, I just keep feeling that energy. So it means, yeah, it's a solar cycle. Now, I'm telling you, Aries and Chiron, right? Fire energy. Linking to, this is going to be general, because how you are and where you are in the matrix Sagittarius, it depends on the frequency you're at. You will resonate with where this is, and this is energy to guide you forward. It's also can be a warning system. Now, in the lower frequency of things, if we haven't been in alignment with the 6th house placement of Aries and Chiron, linking in with your luck, also the Taurus aspect with Uranus going retrograde on the 15th, bad habits, idleness, hunger. Now, Leo energy can be egoic, it can be power orientated, and it can actually get day-to-day tasks done. We can pour that energy into exercise to heal those wounds, to take our power back and do it from a holistic approach. It's the right action, it's the natural law in the mediocre frequency. Rewards, abundance, fruition, maturity, growth. So whatever is coming, it is all for that purpose, but at the lower frequency, it can look scary. It can be relating to our bad habits that we need to purge due to our abundance moving forward and our health moving. And abundance is self-worth energy. So when we tend to tap into those, it's a pacifier to coat a wound. So when we move back into taking that away, we peel the onion away and the wound is there. We can look at it, make peace with it and resolve it. And then that energy no longer navigates us like a compass and we're free. It will never go away, but it will be then not the boss of you. You'll be the boss of you. Bad habits, idleness and hunger, to address those elements this month. Also doing things the right way. It doesn't mean what another person wants you to do is right. It's what the higher aspect of things. So it may be in general